After you're done sketching out your outlines for your fruits, you can actually erase the grid. You're done with the grid. So I only erased the part that I'm going to paint, but you should erase the whole thing. We are all going to start with our backgrounds. That's that backgrounds behind color, behind the fruits, not the tabletop color, but the upper part. That's where everyone is going to start. And everyone is going to have a different color, but the idea is the same. So for me, mine is green. So the colors that I'm going to take, so I'm going to take green because obviously that's the color. I'm going to take a good amount of that so I don't run out. I am also going to take white because it looks like there's a little bit of a lighter value. Now, I don't just want those two colors. If I was just trying to mix like a simple color, maybe I would be done with that, but that's kind of not what I'm looking for. I want optical mixing. So I'm going to think about my color wheel, and I have green here. Whenever you are choosing what colors to pick, always look at what's around it on the color wheel. So for green, I'm going to want to think about yellow green and blue green. So to make that, I should also take yellow and blue. Okay, once I have my colors arranged on my palette, now it's time to mix on the palette some different varieties, because I don't just want green, I don't just want blue, I want a green blue, or a blue green, or a yellow green. So I'm going to make some variations. So first I'll make a tint of green. Then maybe I will make a yellow green. Maybe I want a tint of that. Maybe I want a blue green. And maybe I want a tint of that. Now I have a whole bunch of options. Now, believe it or not, I'm kind of done with my brush temporarily. I am now going to be working with these long Q-tips. These are sort of called cotton swabs, probably similar to what you might see at a doctor's office. Just a long stick with a cotton swab at the end. And we're going to use these to create our dots of paint for our pointillism. Okay, so I'm going to start in the top, and I'm just going to start by applying the pure color. Then I'm going to take some of the other color. Notice how I am not drawing or scraping it around. Placing the different colors. When I place, so let's say I take some of this yellow green, I don't want to cover what I already did. I don't want it to blend too much. I'm going to carefully place it next to and around. So when I place, I'm filling in gaps. I'm not making a pattern, so it's not like I'm doing, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 of the colors. It's a little bit random. I want to get an overall green appearance. So each time I dip into this, I'm going with a different version. I'm picking up, I'm filling in these green spots, these white spots. Now, if you notice that there's certain grouping of colors that ends up happening, make sure you break it up if it's too similar in an area. Notice how with the amount of colors I made, I still have some paint left, but I am getting low in some areas. And I've only done a small amount. So when you first set up, make sure you make yourself enough paint to last you a class, because you don't want to have to constantly remix these colors. So start off by making a decent amount of each one. Uh-oh, I went over my line. So if that happens, let it be. let it dry, but I will have to cover that. When I do my tabletop color, I will have to go over that. You don't want to avoid the pencil line. You want to just cover it. You want to go right up to it and just cover it. Again, with different colors, so it's not exactly the same around. So you are actually going to go right to it. Don't hover around it. Cover the whole thing. The same thing when you get to your fruits. Because this is behind, these dots, when they get covered by the red of the apple, will then look like they are behind the apple, which is in front. So you actually do want to slightly cover those lines. If you take too much paint and you get a big glob, let's see, here, I take too much paint and I get a big glob. I don't want that. That looks different than everything else. It doesn't look great. So kind of wipe that off. But what you can do is just kind of tap into that and spread it around. Don't leave it to dry. And then I can kind of cover it with some other colors and break it up. So if that happens, it's not the end of the world. Just make sure that you kind of mask it, make it turn into something before it dries. And you just want to go in and fill in all these white spots. You don't want the white of the canvas to show up very much at the very end. If you notice your colors are starting to blur together too much, then just pause and move on, and you can always go back later on when it's dry and just fill in a couple of little things if you need to. And you're going to keep going. Now those color combinations work for green. If you had any other color, you just want to go next to it on the color wheel and a little bit lighter, sometimes maybe even a little darker, although for these backgrounds, they're pretty light. They don't really have the shadows that you can see down there. Now, if you picked one of the neutral colors like brown or black or white, then you really have your choice. Let's say you picked black as your background color. You will make dark shades of a group of colors. It could be all the colors, it could be just cool colors, or just blues and violets. But you'd mix them with black of different, slightly different varieties of shades, and that's what you would do. The opposite is true for white. You would mix different colors together with white, so they're very, very light tints, and you could apply that. You can also mix black and white together to make grays, either dark or light grays. Browns usually, like the warmer colors, work better if it's a brown mixture. And that's what you do. You're just going to keep going until you fill up the tabletop color.